What's up, guys? It is Mitchell J again, the Scaredy Cat Guide, and it's a cryptocurrency breakout. But Bitcoin is being left out of the party. So let's scroll in here. You'll see we're still fighting to get out of this little range we've been in. So if you saw yesterday's video, I talked about how after we got this breakout and essentially tested the old uptrend line, that we're just bouncing around here, stuck between essentially 78, 7,900 and then about 84. So as you can see, Bitcoin right now is at 838. Let me do that again, 8,322. Um, and It basically touched 8,400 and pulled back a little bit. So we'll see if it can finally bust through and make a run at the 9K level or not. This is not very volatile. It's Bitcoin is clearly a maturing market because we're not getting the crazy volatility we once were. So, and that doesn't mean it can't pick back up, but it just also, I feel like the market's maturing as more players come into it and there's more buyers and sellers and less ability for a single entity to make a big push up or down in a given crypto. But anyway, like I said, Bitcoin's still stuck range bound. It is testing the high side. Hopefully, it can push through 7,400, make a run at 9K. Let's take a look at the other big names, though, that are breaking out. So I talked about Litecoin. I talked about how it was in this big triangle pattern, this descending triangle. It broke out. And look at that. We got follow through. And we talked about the next upside was probably this 200-day moving average, and then maybe you can make a run at these prior highs here around a buck 70. So sure enough, we're getting close to moving averages. 151, 152. We got as high as about 151. There's a little pullback now. It's pulled back, as you can see, back into 148s. But either way, this is a pretty strong move here. And we'll see. Obviously, we're due for a pullback after getting a substantial move. I mean, we just moved essentially, what are we, 120? I mean, we've gotten a solid 20-point move, without any kind of pullback. So who knows? Maybe this candle will close looking like this even. Could pull back, could push, could make a run at, like I said, and try and get above this 200-day moving average. But the bottom line is, if we pull back, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Ideally, if we did, though, we wouldn't want to go any lower than basically like 135. We want to maintain this prior top and this, prior consolidation here. So, you know, so downside, we want to stay above 135. Upside, we're looking at this 151, 152, 200-day moving average as our first little resistance point before we can make a run at 169, 170. Let's look at Ethereum. So we talked about Ethereum, same thing. Where was the next target? Next target was this prior high where we basically are now. And as you can see, it got up into it. It actually got to the intraday high. Again, we're also getting a little pullback now intraday. Mind you, this daily candle is only about 3 hours old, so we have a long ways to go. So anything can happen. We could push higher, we could pull back. But the bottom line is Ethereum essentially has reached its target. So I wouldn't be adding here. If anything, if you had gotten in when we, got above the prior support slash resistance here, this is the profit target. So this is where some profit should be taken off. You should at least, if you got in down here, you should at least take off half here, and then, you can hold the other half trying to make a run at the prior resistance here for a big move as far as the swing trade goes. At least that's how I would look at it. But anything can happen. We certainly could pull back. If we do, I'd want to see us maintain 500, because if we don't, then next downside is 405, this old support. This consolidation here, though, is good. We bounced off of 500 a bunch of times, 4 days in a row. So now I'm looking at 500 as the next downside, target, and again upside. Essentially, if we can close above this prior high, then we're looking at making a run at the 200-day and then this prior resistance. And like I always say, just know your price points. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Just make sure you always have an upside and a downside price point, and then decide if there's an opportunity to make a trade. And the easiest way to figure that out is, do I have a profitable risk reward ratio. So am I going to be able to make at least twice as much as I'm risking on this investment, on this trade, on this position? So as long as you have a minimum 2 to 1, you generally over the long term should do all right. But obviously, the larger that ratio, the better. 3 to 1, 4 to 1, even 5 to 1. So that is it for now. Like I said, we got some of the other big names breaking out while Bitcoin is still just kind of consolidating. Hopefully, it's coiling up to make a big move up, but we'll see. Anyway, that is all for now. I will see you on the next video.